Mr. Giga Lemonjava, leader of the Coalition for Change, welcome to the program.
Thank you for inviting me.
Many voters have valid concerns about the choice of the Big Four to stay out of Parliament, particularly given the events of 2020. This has led to worries that the opposition or its individual members might eventually enter Parliament. Can you explain what makes this situation different and reassure your voters that your coalition and its elected representatives will not legitimize the 11th convocation of Parliament?
It's not just an ordinary situation now in Georgia. It's not just a rigged election. It's Russian special operation, hybrid operation against Georgian democracy, against the European and Euro-Atlantic future of our country, against our citizens. That makes situation unique, and opposition political coalitions or parties or individual politicians do not have moral, political or pragmatic right and intention to enter this parliament to legitimize this illegitimate body. And that is why we have, from the very beginning of the process, we have stated that we're not going to enter the parliament. We're going to cancel our lists according to the Georgian legislation. I can assure you and all the voters that voted for the number 4 that we are not going to legitimize this illegitimate parliament. We're not going to enter this parliament. We have cancelled our mandates, and we'll do it legally also, according to the Georgian legislation. For instance, next week we're going to address the Central Election Commission to abolish all the lists of our coalition.
Despite the ban on using tents during public protest, your coalition intends to go ahead with this approach. So my question is, how are you going to manage to do it, considering that it is currently illegal?
I don't think that this is illegal. I think that illegal is approach of the Georgian police and Ministry of Internal Affairs, which tries to deprive us of our right to peacefully express our protest. We're going to use all the mechanisms and tools according to the Georgian legislation and international standards to fight against the Russian hybrid operation against our European and Euro-Atlantic future. So we're not going to play with the rules of the set by Georgian Dream and the Russian oligarch Ivanishvili. It's not matter for us. We're going to protest peacefully, but acutely, systematically, throughout all the country, not only in Tbilisi, and we're not going to give the right to Ivanishvili to take our European future from us, because we do not have the way back now. It's a decisive moment. It's not about the political power, who wins or loses elections. It's about future of every single Georgian citizen. So we're gonna use camps, we're gonna use other mechanisms and tools to protest peacefully, but very, very acutely and systematically.
Do you think our international partners will support this strategy?
I'm pretty sure that protest inside the country gonna provoke the more attention from the outside, from our international partners, because there are two components, and the synergy of those two gonna make us win this battle. It's about the protest inside the country, and it's about support from the West, from the United States and European countries. We have seen the joint statement of 15 foreign ministers from the EU. We have seen the statement of the Department of State, President Joe Biden. So we have strong support from outside. Now it's time to protest. Now it's time to show to all the stakeholders, including Russian oligarch Ivanishvili, that we're not going to give up. This is the case. And whatever he thinks, whatever the Ministry of Internal Affairs think, we're going to protest as we like, in the framework of the Georgian legislation and constitution.
For 2 months, Shukruti villagers were protesting in front of the parliament, and throughout all this period, the police did not allow them to set up at least a single tent. What makes you believe that they will act differently this time?
Police is not acting according to the Georgian legislation. It's about the power. When they see that there are few protesters, they do anything they want to do. But if there are many people on the streets, they're not able to violate the Georgian legislation. So it's about projection of power. It's not about just legal framework, but it's about does the police dare to deprive us of our constitutional rights to express our protest peacefully or not? So they are totally out of the legal framework. And you mentioned the case of Shukruti protesters. In that case, police acted against the Georgian legislation because they were able to do so. But if there are hundreds of thousands of people outside there, they're not going to be able to deprive us of our basic constitutional rights.
When you said that the number of people would matter, it reminded me of the case when the special forces of the Ministry of Internal Affairs stormed the crowded headquarters of UNM to arrest Nika Melia. Considering this example, do you really believe that the ruling party will sit by and watch you break the law that they adopted?
I don't think that it's about the will of Georgian Dream or Ivanishvili personally. It's about our will of Georgian citizens to maintain our European and Euro-Atlantic path. So it's about the numbers, it's about the motivation. Everybody now inside our country understands that this is the decisive and crucial moment for our history. It's not about the political winning or losing. It's about our country, our country's freedom, our country's European future, and the general sense, general mood of public now is that this is the crucial moment. So numbers and motivation now is totally different from other cases. I think that we should set the rules. I think that we should set the terms and conditions and not Russian oligarch Ivanishvili. This is the mindset, how it works.
Many voters are frustrated, not just with the results, but also because opposition leaders and the president assured them that the electronic voting system was secure and that the risk of rigging was low. Now you're claiming that the election was stolen. Should we assume that you were misled from the start, or this is a cover for your own failures? Although we've witnessed manipulations by Judy in the past, do you really think it was possible to manipulate 1,120,000 votes?
So for the record, I would like to mention that we, political party DROA and generally Coalition for Change, never mentioned that these electronic elections were good, better, because we know perfectly how authoritarian regimes use modern technologies to manipulate the elections. This is fact for us, but still, this has been the Russian special operation, as I already mentioned, with all these hybrid components. So it was just impossible to prevent this special operation. Russia's interference in democratic process in elections in different countries are well known for our audience, for the international community and our Georgian society too. So it's not just rigged elections. Elections were rigged in Georgia, unfortunately, many times, but this is not the case now. This is complex, comprehensive Russian hybrid special operation. It was just impossible for the opposition political parties without technical, operational, tactical, and strategic weapons to struggle against and prevent this Russian hybrid operation. Now we have the chance to win against this Russian operation with the protest inside the country and with the support from our Western allies. So I don't see the possibility that the Georgian opposition or any other organization in any other country could prevent this operation without possessing particular operational and tactical mechanism. It was just impossible. Because I want to repeat once again that this is not ordinary ways how elections are rigged in Georgia or in any other countries. It's Russian special operation. Now we know how this operation was conducted, what were the schemes, and we're going to struggle and fight against these results because we do not accept the results of the Russian operation. We need real elections conducted by international organizations.
Regarding the electronic voting system, which has significantly lost the trust of opposition voters, if early elections are held, will your coalition support using this system again?
No, of course, we do not support that idea. We think that the new elections should be conducted and organized by international community. We have several international exemplary cases of such conduct, including Bosnia-Herzegovina and elections conducted by the OSCE in that country. And this electronic system should be definitely abandoned. There is also the ruling of the German Constitutional Court, which abandoned these electronic machines all over the country on the territory of the German Federation because there was no trust in the elections conducted in such electronic way. And the trust in election process is the most important component in this case, because the CEC, according to all the public opinion polls, is the least trusted state institution in Georgia, and these electronic machines are also least trusted way of conducting of elections, and that is why we do not support the idea of conducting and organizing new elections using these electronic machines. There is no trust in this system.
During the pre-election period, GD emphasized issues that resonate strongly with Georgian voters, including the importance of peace during wartime and concerns about LGBT propaganda, with strong backing from the Orthodox Church. In contrast, your coalition either ignored these tactics or deemed them ineffective. Don't you think that was a mistake? Can you dismiss the possibility that this campaign genuinely swayed enough people to gain an additional 200,000 votes for GD?
No, of course, it's not about the political campaign and pre-election campaign. We also conduct our own polls, and we know perfectly that this war versus peace message or any other Russian propaganda messages did not have much traction in Georgian society. It was about 20% who actually cared about those messages of Georgian dream. It's not about the campaigning, it's not about the messaging, it's just about the Russian special operation against Georgian citizens. They were not able to win the elections using those messages. We, the opposition political coalitions, actually won the elections, but they stole elections using the Russian hybrid warfare tools. That is why I don't think that we made any mistake in the pre-election campaign in terms not reacting on those messages of Georgian Dream. It was not about the messaging and campaigning.
Salome Zurabishvili's presidential term is nearing its end, and it seems likely that the GD will quickly elect a new president. How do you think the loss of the only remaining ally in the executive branch will affect the strength and unity of the opposition?
So definitely, obviously, Salome Zurabishvili is the prominent leader of this peaceful resistance movement that is now currently building in Georgia, and President Zurabishvili is the key communicator of the position of Georgian people with our international partners, both in US and Europe. And she plays a vital role now in uniting opposition political parties and also civil society organizations, consolidating all those positions among the political opposition and civil society organizations. This is the fact, but political opposition will remain united because it's not about just one person, it's about the perception of the threat we're facing right now. It's about just one very simple question. Will Georgian state be sovereign, independent, free and European country or not? And all the opposition leaders and opposition party members understand and perceive this threat. That makes us united, first of all. Second of all, Salome Zurabishvili has her political personality, political say, both inside the country and outside the country. So she's gonna continue to struggle against this Russian regime after the ending of her presidency term, I'm pretty sure, and she's gonna play the vital role in this struggle for our European future. So I don't think that the termination of her term of presidency will somehow damage our struggle for our country.